Okay, welcome to part 9, Getting Started. Now, I've said multiple times that mixed model line design is a step-by-step methodology for designing the ultimate value stream. But I haven't told you yet what the steps are. So that's what I'll do in this video. And remember, we're keeping these videos short. So this will, of necessity, be a pretty high-level overview. The good news is you can download the roadmap, much more detailed, from this page as well. So let's go through the steps, the main high-level steps. First, initial assessment and master plan. So the assessment we typically do is a value stream map format of the current state. Now, this VSM will not be sufficient to design the line, but it's a good start and it's a quick snapshot of where you are today. And of course, the master plan is the who, what, when, where, how of this initiative that you're launching. So what are the major steps? Again, this is provided in the roadmap that you can download, and who's working on it and how long should it take, those kind of details. Great, so we have a master plan for starters, and step 2 is going to be what we call data collection. And there are a lot of different types of data we're going to have to gather. So this is a data-driven methodology, and the first step is going to be gathering and documenting the data. Now, the several different types of data you'll need to have include things like times, tasks, volumes, products, demand, etc. Those kind of things. And again, download the free copy of the Mixed Model Line Design Roadmap on this page for a complete listing of these. Next, once we have this data, and by the way, I'm going fast, but gathering data is not a minor detail if you don't have it. It's a huge effort, but we need to have it. Okay, once we have the data collected, we're ready to do some calculations. So when I ask how many people love math when we're teaching a live class, almost no one raises their hand. A few people here and there will be, excited about math. But this is a data-driven methodology. We're going to be doing some calculations, but don't worry, it's very easy. It's very simple. It's not even worthy of the term math. It's really just arithmetic. If you can add and subtract and divide and multiply, you'll be in good shape. So here's what you're going to need to calculate, a couple things. Number one, the volume per process. So how many units per day per process are we going to have to achieve through our design? And it's not as simple as it sounds because we're incorporating things like rework and scrap if you have that, and optionality, etc. Next thing is the takt time per process, so the rhythm or beat of that process. We need to calculate that. So how much time do we have during the day? How many units do we want to produce? And so the result is minutes per unit or seconds per unit or hours per unit. And lastly, and here's what we're really trying to get to, the resources per process. So how many machines, how many people, if they're machines, what kinds of machines, etc. We need to do all that calculation, right? We're going to get a number. So that's it. So that's not too bad, right? Calculations are not too bad. So next step, we call this line balancing. So if you're doing work sequentially in a process, like an automated, like an assembly line, not automated, but like an assembly line environment, and if you have more than one person, then you're going to need to allocate the work steps to more than one workstation or more than one person. And we call this line balancing or workstation definition. And this is a very important part of the line design method. And you'll be attempting to allocate the work as evenly as possible from one station to the next. Now, there are a number of balancing tools or strategies that you can use to help you accomplish this. And again, download the Mixed Model Line Design Roadmap to read through the various line balancing tools that are available to you. Next, once we have that thought through, conceptual line layout. So, caution, before you fire up your CAD software, create a block layout. And we recommend using sticky notes on a table or on a board. And the idea here is to get everyone on your team involved with the design process, not just the CAD developers or not just the engineers. So sticky notes are easy to move around, help you see the high-level processes, help you experiment with different options and configurations before you add in all the fine details. Now, here's one extra step you might want to consider, next step in this methodology, and that's called simulation. This is an optional step, but highly recommended if your design is complex and if it will be very expensive to change it after you've done it, after the fact. So you may need to get outside help to create a simulation model based on your conceptual line design, the one you did previously in the previous step. But then you can test multiple scenarios, changes in mix, changes in volumes, changes that you know are going to happen in the real world. And you'll almost certainly get a better design if you can go through the simulation step. And then finally, of course, you need a detailed design, so create a CAD drawing. This is a big job also, since we're now talking about all the fine details. But here's a tip that will save a lot of headache in the future. Get facilities involved in this effort, as well as the material flow team. Sit around the room, project that on the wall, and walk through process by process. So at the end of this, you'll have a detailed design that you can implement. So it's like as if you were building a house. Once you have a detailed construction drawing, you still haven't built anything yet, but remember that the more time you spend on this design on paper, the smoother the construction phase is going to go once you start actually cutting boards and nailing in nails. So that's pretty much it. But again, download that roadmap and you'll see a lot more detail, and you can spend a lot more time on this, obviously. So in the next and final video, I'll share with you the 3 main ways to learn this subject, mixed model line design, in detail. So we'll see you then.